Hi, in this tutorial we're going to look at how to use a swipe gesture recognizer. So in our example we're going to have a UI image view, and it's going to recognize if we swipe to the left or swipe to the right and show different images based on the direction that we're swiping. So to get started, let's create a new project in Xcode. So I'm going to start with a single view application, and I'm going to click Next, and let's name this Swipe, and the only thing I'm going to have checked is Automatic Reference Counting, and Next, and then I'm going to create the project. Okay, I'm going to go into Interface Builder and set up my user interface. So I'm going to find the image view and drag that onto my screen, and I'm just going to size it up. I'm going to set the mode to aspect fit so that no matter what the dimensions are of the image, it will keep it in proportion. And I'm going to make sure interaction for user interaction is checked and multiple touch. Now I'm going to need some images, a starting image as well as other ones that will swipe to display on our screen. So I'm going to drag some images into my supporting files. And you can use any group of images for this. Just make sure that you check off copy items in order to copy them into the supporting files folder. Okay, now I can change my image view, and I'll start with an initial image of my trapped manga girl. And now I'm going to add the swipe gesture. So I'm going to scroll down in this list and find the swipe gesture, and I'm going to click and drag it onto my image view. And the swipe gesture is added to the objects, and I'm just going to right click on it, and we can see that it is connected to the image view. Next we're going to set up outlets and actions. We need an outlet for this UI image view because we're going to be referencing it in order to handle the swipe gesture and to be able to put other images into this view when it's swiped. And we also need to create an action that will recognize when this swipe gesture occurs, what should happen. So first off, I'm going to go into the Assistant Editor, and I'm going to close the utility panel so that we have some extra space in here. And I'm going to start by creating an outlet for our UI image view. So I'm going to right click and drag from the image view into the header file, and I'm going to name this image view. Next I'm going to select the swipe gesture recognizer in the objects panel, and I'm going to right click and drag from it to the header file, and this is going to be connected to an action. So in other words, when the swipe gesture is recognized, we want it to fire off this action. And so I'm just going to call this handle swipe and connect. Now normally we pass in the ID of the sender, but we're going to be a little bit more prescriptive here. We're going to specify that this is a UI gesture recognizer. So we're passing in the sender information, but also we're passing in the UI gesture recognizer. So we're going to pass in whether it should recognize this as a swipe gesture. Now this also needs to be updated in the implementation file because the implementation file already has it set up with an ID. So I think we're finished with our user interface here. So I'm going to go out of the Assistant Editor into full screen mode, and I'm going to open the implementation file. And you can see here at the bottom we have the handle swipe method. First I'm just going to drag this to the top of my methods list so that we have a little more screen space and make it easier to see during the video. And we replace this ID with UI gesture recognizer as the sender. Now let's just check and make sure that the swipe works. And the quickest thing we can do is just do an NS log statement. So we'll say swiped. So if the UI image view does recognize that it's being swiped, then we should get a log statement. So let's run that in the simulator. And if I click and drag, we have our NS log statement that shows that it's been swiped, right? So right now it's only recognizing a right swipe and not a left swipe. So we'll have to see how we implement that. But that's a good sign that our image view is recognizing a swipe. However, it was only recognizing a right swipe and not a left swipe. So let's set this up so that it will recognize a left and a right swipe. So I'm going to go back into the interface builder, and if I select the swipe gesture recognizer, you can see over on the attributes panel that it's set up for a swipe right. So we can have a left, down, and up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another swipe gesture recognizer and drag it onto my image view. Now I have one that is set up. If I right click on this, we can see it's set up to go to the handle swipe and it's connected to image view. So this other one we want to set to swipe left, and I'm going to connect this to the method, the handle swipe method. Now I don't have to go back in and open up my header file because that method is already created in Files Owner. So I'm just going to right click and drag from this swipe up to Files Owner. It's going to give me a list here, and I want to connect it to the handle swipe. So now if I test it, let me clear this, let me run so I can swipe right, and I see my message. Let me clear this, bring up my simulator, and I'm going to swipe left. So no matter left or right, it's recognizing the swipe gesture. So both of those are connected to the handle swipe method. So next I'm going to go into the implementation file, and we know that this part works, so we'll comment this out. Next I'm going to paste some code into the handle swipe method, and we'll review the code and test our app. Okay, so first of all I have an image index, an integer that represents the image index. And I've created an array of images. Now this array is a listing of the images that I have in my supporting files. And image index is going to refer to the index number of the image that's in this array. Because what we want to have happen is when we start on an image and we swipe to the right or to the left, we want to keep track of the count of the index number that we're on. So we're going to increase it as we swipe to the right and decrease it as we swipe to the left. So I have image index initialized at 4 because this is our trapped manga girl, which is the one that's in there to begin with. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're getting the information from the image view that is connected to the swipe gesture recognizer, and when it's swiped it's going to send information to our action through our gesture recognizer, right? Our sender is going to send the gesture recognizer information to our handle swipe method, and so from that we're going to be able to figure out what direction it was swiped. So it's passing in, we're getting that through the direction being passed in. And then we have a switch statement. So we have, now that we know what direction is being passed in through our recognizer, we have a case of whether it was swiped left. If it was swiped left, the image index increases by 1. If the swipe direction was right, then we decrease the index by 1. And then we have a couple of lines here that are keeping track of the image index. And so what happens if we get to 0, then we start counting all over again. So we don't, when we get to the end, it will keep running. And then we finally put the image into the image view for the object at index in our array. So the item that's in our index array. So let me test this in the simulator. And if I swipe to the right, I get an image, and it only lets me go one. And if I come back, I go another image, but I don't go back to the original one that I was at. So it looks like it only lets me go forward or backwards one. So something is going on here. I'm starting here. It'll let me go backwards to Money Troubles, or it'll let me go forward to Supergirl, but I can't get it to continue around this loop. And basically what's happening is each time we swipe, we do the handle swipe, it comes back here and it reinitializes our index number to 4. So I think what I'm going to do is move this outside of the method so that when the application loads, it's going to start the index number at 4. So now I'm going to run it in the simulator and see if that makes any difference. Right, I can go back, yes. So now I can go each direction and continue through the entire loop. So that's the basics of using a swipe gesture recognizer, and we've included that on an image view to be able to swipe from one image to another.